Hey guys, it's Rod from Huntington Company, and we are finally back with a brand new episode of Wristwatch Check. And on my wrist today is the reference 79190, the final reference of the Tudor Submariner. Today we're going to discuss the differences between the 79190 and the 79090, and why this one goes for well over $10,000. So let's get into it. All right, we won't get into the discussion of the 4-digit references or the 76100 reference Tudor Submariner because they're totally different than this, but we will talk about the difference between the 79090 and the 79190, which is a question that I actually get asked quite a bit. The 79190, the reference we have here, is the final reference of the Tudor Submariner before it was discontinued in 2000. This reference ran from 1995 to 1999. And the example that we have here is from 1995, a first series of the final reference. The difference between this and the 79090 is actually quite important, and a lot of specifications on the final reference were never seen on any other Tudor Submariner in the past. This example features a Tudor stamped bracelet. This reference also has a unidirectional bezel and a sapphire crystal. The reference 79090 would feature an acrylic crystal, a bidirectional bezel, and usually a Rolex stamped bracelet, like all the previous generations of the Tudor Submariner. This was their final iteration of the sub, and it was the only true neo-vintage example. Those specifications lined up versus the previous generation of the Submariner shows why this reference has such a high premium, almost double the price of the previous generation. The 79190 was introduced in 1995 and discontinued in 1999. Only ran for 4 years in production, and from 1997 to 1999 did we see a steel bezel example with applied hour markers. But that's not what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about a more special example of this reference. The one that we have here does look like a simple sub, but there's something truly special about it. If you didn't know, most Tudor Submariners came in 2 dial options. You had black with black bezel and blue with blue bezel. For this reference, most of them, when it came to the blue color, was a strong and bright royal blue dial and bezel. But as we can see with this one, it's a faded navy blue, and that goes for both the dial and bezel. The bezel has a ghost-like effect compared to other examples. The reference 79190 was only produced for 4 years, but within that production, we found with the mid-range B serials, a handful of them were made with a navy-like blue color, not the royal blue. These are the ones that are truly sought after by collectors. The royal blues could be found for $6,000 to $8,000 and even less given the condition and the contents it comes with. But if you can find a true complete set, first year from 1995, a mid-range B serial with a perfect bezel and dial, an unpolished case, and an original Tudor sign bracelet, that is when you have found a true rarity, a gem in the world of Tudor collecting. This is the reference 79190, the final generation, the final reference of the Submariner by Tudor before it was discontinued coming into the 21st century. And this reference stood alone compared to any previous generation. The only unidirectional bezel, sapphire crystal, and Tudor stamp bracelet. And within that, a first year from 1995 with its complete set down to its international RSC paperwork from service, and an unpolished case with a spectacular navy blue ghosted bezel and dial. That's what makes the reference 79190 so special, and that's why this example demands double the price tag, a true premium compared to the previous generation in a classic royal blue dial and bezel configuration. I truly think this is such a special watch, the final generation of the Tudor Submariner, and at the same time, the first year of the reference. If you compare it to Rolex, the only thing comparable to this is the reference 16610, and that comes only in a black dial, black bezel option, unless you take a look at the anniversary example from the early 2000s that had a green bezel nicknamed the Kermit, which goes for well over $15,000. But if you want to add a little bit of blue to your collection and you want a blue dial and bezel, neo-vintage Submariner, this is where you have to go to find it. It's a rare watch, but it deserves the hunt because it is truly special and rare. So if you're looking to pick up a vintage or neo-vintage Tudor, if you have any questions about the reference or anything else when it comes to vintage watches, please make sure you reach out to us. You can comment below on this YouTube video or reach out via any forms of our social media. And I promise you, as always, if you end up picking up a vintage watch from the watch shop over at huntingtoncompany.com, it'll be just as good as this, if not better, and it will not disappoint.